Hello, my name is Aaron Piszczowski, and this is my current topics and educational philosophy video. In this video, I'll be looking at the current issue of mental health in students and how the educational philosophies Pragmatism, Constructivism, and Paranormalism view issues such as these. To begin, let's look at what constitutes as mental health. Mentalhealth.gov defines mental health as our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act. It also helps determine how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood and adolescence through adulthood. When we think about mental health in schools, it seems more and more students are experiencing mental health crises. This may be from increasing stressors at school and home, but it also simply is because it's becoming less of a stigma to talk about. There are many factors in mental illnesses and overall mental health, such as biological, trauma, and generational. With the knowledge of these factors becoming more integrated into our society, schools must also acknowledge mental health. In this video, I will show the 3 different philosophies and how they would view mental health in today's current climate. Let's first look at pragmatism. Pragmatic philosophy is the focus on preparation for life that is student-centered. They believe that children should work within their own goals and develop discipline as they learn. From the article Pragmatism and its Contribution to Education by Pratima Chamling-Ray, they explain the basic aims of the philosophy. The aims of education by pragmatists are the following. 1. To create new values. They do not believe in the theory of any fixed aim of education. In their opinion, the aim of education is to create new values, and the purpose of the teacher is to help students develop those values. 2. To enable pupils to gather experiences through the activity. For the creation of new values, activities and experiences are essential. Education should therefore provide physical, intellectual, moral, and aesthetic activities as the media for the creation of new values. 3. To help the pupil to adjust within the society. The other important aim of education, according to pragmatists, is to help the pupil to make adjustments within himself and society. 4. To help the pupil to reconstruct his experience. Every individual has to solve different types of complex problems in his life. So another important aim of education, according to pragmatists, is to enable the pupil to form an outlook on life that can help to tackle successfully the different problems for his life and future. 5. To make all-around development for the pupil. All-around development of the individual is also an important aim of education. The individual develops physically, mentally, socially, and aesthetically. With this in mind, it can be argued that pragmatists would have a general positivity in building mental health knowledge into their curriculum. This is because they believe education does not have a fixed aim. It can be altered for the student and what is needed in their community and life. Mental health could be a core value in this type of philosophy and has been seen in some instances. In the article Pragmatism in Education by Rochelle Brownell, the author states following on John Dewey, quote, For Dewey, a democratic society must be mobile and dynamic. It is a society in which teachers know that what works for one student might not work for another. He believed that experience is not a mental state that is within us. Instead, we are within experience. End quote. Mental health, and especially mental illnesses, are an experience in our students that is becoming more and more destigmatized. Therefore, it would be productive of pragmatists to view this as such and develop ways to integrate it into their curriculum. Now let's take a look at Constructivism. Constructivist teachers are student-centered and use questions to create opportunities for critical thinking. In the article Effective Constructivist Teaching Learning in the Classroom by Kumar Shah, quote, students are able to develop their own understanding of the subject matter based on previous knowledge and can correct any misconceptions they have, end quote. The teacher's role in this approach is to guide students and assist them in connecting their discoveries to prior knowledge. Shah also mentions that both traditional approaches and constructivist approaches work, although the latter produces more enthusiastic students interested in the subject matter. Fellow constructivist Vygotsky created a social constructivist theory of learning, stated here. Social interactions are critical. Knowledge is co-constructed between 2 or more people. Self-regulation is developed through internalization, which is developing an internal representation of actions and mental operations that occur in social interactions. Human development occurs through the cultural transmission of tools, such as languages and symbols, and language is the most critical tool. Language develops from social speech to private speech to covert, which is inner speech. The zone of proximal development, ZPD, is the difference between what children can do on their own and what they can do with assistance from others. Interactions with adults and peers in the ZPD zone promote cognitive development. Constructivists believe that when a student has an experience, they build this into their schema, or their pre-existing knowledge. And then when they learn new things, they assimilate it and then are able to accommodate the information by using what was learned. If we were to look at mental health in regards to this, we can argue that if a student had an experience with mental health such as anxiety, they will have the knowledge of anxiety in their schema. Educators can use this schema to teach new information using techniques to help said student with their anxiety. This new information allows the student to assimilate it into their schema and therefore accommodate it in different instances. They believe learning is a social process because it is embedded within a social context as students and teachers work together to build knowledge. With this in mind, it can be argued that constructivists would find ways to build on students' schema of mental health and develop ways to help students assimilate techniques. Lastly, we'll take a look at paranormalism. From siue.edu, they state, quote, "Paranormalists believe that the focus of education should be the ideas that have lasted over centuries. They believe the ideas are as relevant and meaningful today as when they were written. They recommend that students learn from reading and analyzing the works by history's finest thinkers and writers," end quote. This is a teacher-centered philosophy where the teacher is not concerned with the student's experiences or interests. They believe in the traditional teaching techniques that are universal and the belief that all humans possess the same essential nature. They want their students to think deeply and analytically about information that has been tried true for a long amount of time. Examples of this are used in literature, history, and philosophy. When looking at paranormalism, it can be argued that mental health would not be at the top of their to-do list, simply because it is not a major traditional education point. However, there is mental health mentioned across literature and philosophy and history as well. Teachers using the paranormalism philosophy may integrate mental health information into their curriculum, but it will not accommodate students' experiences or views on the matter. The teacher will be the sole provider of information and share what they think is relevant. After looking at all three philosophies, it is apparent that new information such as the growing knowledge of mental health in students will continue to push teachers of any philosophy to grow and change. No matter what you gear towards in reference to educational philosophies, it is important to be able to integrate change and new ideas into your practices. I hope that in the coming years, as I begin my own career, I am able to accommodate these techniques and new information on mental health to better help my students learn in a comfortable and positive environment. And in ending, these are my references that I've used. And thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please let me know.